big week for people following the Emmys campaign, aka us, the people that made a podcast because we thought Dropout deserves an Emmy, and no one was talking about it. So we said, you know what? Let's talk about it if no one else will. And guess what? Everybody's talking about it now. Hey, Jordon,
we were
every day
ahead of the curve. Yeah.
We knew it was coming.
Look what we did.
We did. We have 5 potential pieces going into the first round of voting, which is very soon. It's this month that people will vote on the short lists. And then from there, we'll get into voting to be who's on the card for the Emmys. That'll be announced later in the summer. So it's all happening, Jordon. And people are getting excited. People are watching Dropout. People are asking questions about who this cast is and who this company is. And Sam's been on the campaign trail talking about Dropout's origins, and that's been very thrilling to hear about. Is there anything that's caught your eye in the past week from just all of the hoopla around Dropout entering the conversation?
I mean, you know, the one thing that caught my eye, because I immediately messaged you about it, it was the IndieWire interview with Sam and Paul. It's very exciting to see, like, there's so many Sam interviews. I haven't had a chance to listen or watch to all of them, and people keep messaging me to be like, there's a clip from Nobody Asked in one of Sam's interviews, and, like, they sent it to me, and I'm like, oh, there is, I think, one extra, like, moment of, I think it's BDG, Iffy, Reka, and Oscar in like a kitchen area, which we hadn't seen before, but like the other stuff I think we had seen. Anyway,
yes.
It's so exciting to have so much content that I can't keep up with it. But also, in the IndieWire interview, people got really excited. I saw this huge blow up on Reddit about Izzy had offered to give birth on Game Changer. And I was like, gang, I knew that weeks ago. Izzy and I talked about that in my interview with her. You don't need Sam out here telling you this. Izzy, it's truly one of my favorite clips, and that I got to pull out of that interview when Izzy's like, Sam kept messaging me being like, do you think it's going to be okay? And she's like, Sam, that simply isn't how babies work. So yeah, it was the VIP schedule coordinating along with then Sam had asked in the summer, what's the craziest thing he would do for Game Changer? And he said, cut me open, I'll give birth live on camera.
I would like to know if I'm assuming they keep all the answers season over season when they send out these surveys. I would like to see the list of answers ranked. And if anything scores more absurd than that, I need to know what other people offered to do, because I genuinely don't think it gets better than Izzy offering. No.
I do like
access to her child's birth for Dropout.
Someone did point out that if she had given birth, that it would then be a write-off because she was being paid on set, and like they could have like covered all her medical expenses. You know, would have been a smart move. Also, how fantastic of a couple Brennan and Izzy are. Brennan, I would do anything to win anything, and Izzy, I would give birth on camera for Game Changer. Is just
two people who match each other's energy to a T. Also, just have to say, as a Canadian, never in a million years would I put that together. That like that could be tax and or like write off
here.
We're going to talk about the trailer that dropped for Never Stop Blowing Up. This is the conversation. It's not that we haven't been chit-chatting about it in the DMs over the past time since the trailer emerged. I don't know when it dropped versus today. We have been chatting about it, but I've just been so excited to dig in and have a conversation with you about everything that we learned from that trailer and what we've learned about this season. I have so many thoughts on this. We're also going to chat about very important people and the bonus content episode that came out on Friday, which was such a delight. Such a delight.
So much more than what I thought it was going to be. When it popped up and it was like 31 minutes and I was like, oh, a feast.
I know.
Like,
I had to get up and get a snack. I was like, I thought this might be 8 minutes of like cute little clips, but no. Such a treat.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But like the Vic saying this is a nightmare because they couldn't get the line right, and then them editing that in of like this is a nightmare in the horror aspect. Brilliant work by Tamar and Eve. Just brilliant use of a little clap. Hey everybody, a little clap.
Let's talk about this because this is terrifying. How, who, why?
Yes.
I think those are the 3 specific questions we need answered. How, who, why?
Huge shout out to Lance from Reddit who made this. And posted it.
Good.
And when I saw it, I immediately screenshotted it and sent it to Vic. It's the fastest I've ever sent Vic anything. And I commented that. And Lance reached out and was like, hey, does Vic have like a PO box that I could send it to so they could have it? And I was like, not that I know of, but let me look into it. And then I forgot immediately. And then I got a PO box and someone sent me a DM on Reddit, something unrelated. And I saw that last message of let me look into it. And I was like, oh, hey. And so I sent Lance the PO box and then immediately forgot again and got this very lightweight box in the mail. And I was like, what is this? And I opened it up and like there was a very nice letter from Lance and it said like, Dear Jordon and Vic. And as soon as I saw our names together, I was like, I know exactly what this is. And then Lance also sent a baseball because Lance collects autographed baseballs and thinks that are like well beyond like just having baseball players sign them. He sent me a list and I don't remember who all was on it, but just like because you can display them very easily and it's very fun. So he sent me a baseball and a pen and a self-addressed envelope with a whole bunch of stamps on it and asked me to get Vic and my autograph and potentially anyone else's and send it back to him. And I was like, Lance, I live in the wrong state, but I will do my best.
Lance, I love the initiative. Honestly, you got to work for what you want in this world. Really went there, really did it. I am amazed by all of this. Is this you now saying on the record that if people want things herded to and from Dropout and or Cast, you are now like the mule for autographs?
Please don't. It is definitely not that. I live in Texas. I am 2 time zones away from them. And I have met Vic once in person for, I think, 30 seconds total. We met 2 separate days because they were headed into a show and like they stopped. We had a moment of chat and like, I got to go in. I was like, great. And then the next day, basically the same conversation. So
thrilling. Listen, that's still 30 seconds more than the majority of people who would like their baseballs autographed. So I'm not saying that Jordon will accept your offers. I am saying that Jordon's PO box is probably in the description of this video, people. So my request will be, I just want a list of gluten-free recommendations to rally Beardsley. So if you get an Allie interview before I do, if you could just like maybe make that happen. I don't even need an autograph. I would just like a list of restaurants for the next time I'm in LA. That'd be Perfect. Lovely. Yeah. So that's my request put in. I encourage you all to put your requests in. The least you can do is subscribe if you'd like Jordon to maybe pop into the Patreon.
Yeah, someone sent me a letter. They also sent like a giant bag of Skittles off my Amazon wish list, which is very kind. And but they sent me just a letter. It's like, hey, I don't really understand how Patreon works. And I was like, fair. And they're like, here's a question I've always had for Brennan. So if you ever get a Brennan interview, here's a question I would love for you to ask him. And I was like,
very sweet.
I guess that is one way to do this. So
pay Jordon in Amazon wish list order fulfillment. Who knows what will happen? I am in production mode for the next few weeks. So if you notice our episodes get all over the place in terms of posting and timing, or maybe even not happening, it's not Jordon. Very much Liz. Very much Liz. So if you're looking for weekly content, you can head over to Jordon's Patreon. I don't know where you're going to be on the screen. When I edit this, I always go in a different place than I am when we're recording. So Jordon's got a lot of cool stuff coming out over the next few weeks. I'm going to be wearing a hard hat and producing the shit out of some stuff that's happening, which is my job. That's the name, ProducerLiz. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. But when we're back, Never Stop Blowing Up will be out in the world.
It's so soon.
Happening.
We're like 2 weeks out, right?
I have the press release up. Season launch, June 26th. That is the official statement. This series is insane. Like, when I think about where Dimension 20 has to go, and we've talked about this endlessly over the course of talking about Fantasy High Junior Year, and we've talked a lot about the Dungeons and Drag Queens not being Emmy eligible, and how do you create a season that is to the core of what Dimension 20 is, but garner something different and approaches a different audience and opens the door for people who might not understand the systems that they're playing within. This is the formulaic answer to that entire conversation. Everything about this season screams open door, zero barrier entry, a hook and a thrill to invite new people in, a star-studded cast that you adore from day one. It's just, it's like, it's so good. What's your gut reaction to all of this?
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, the idea that they are using a modified Kids on Bikes is so smart.
Which I just need to pause immediately, because for multiple days, production brain Liz kept calling it Kids Fly Kites. Or no, not Kids Fly. Yeah, Kids Fly Kite System. That's what I was calling it. I was like, that doesn't sound right, but it doesn't sound wrong. And then Jordon was the one that was like, what is it? Kids
on bikes.
Kids on bikes. You said that in a message, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. So to Liz, it's the Kids Fly Kite System. But anyway, please continue.
Also, Kids on Brooms from Misfits and Magic. But yeah, it's the same basic system that they used in Mentopolis, which I think they very clearly fell in love with. Like what they can do when they kind of kit bash isn't the right word, but like bash that system into the shape that they want it to be, and make such a narrative-driven story and doesn't get bogged down in the combat mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons. You're not going to have presumably like a 2.5-hour combat episode in this. Although, I mean, presumably you are going to have I think we're probably going to have 10 straight episodes of combat. Just not Dungeons and Dragons combat. Just storytelling combat. Yeah, I felt so instantly in love with this. I think you're 100% right. 10 episodes, which it gives, I'm sure, like, episode 1, obviously, we're going to be introduced to the real world characters before they get Jumanji'd into this magical VHS action movie. I love the, like, basically blockbuster cards that we got of like their favorite movies, all such good choices. I love everything about that. Ally Beardsley playing a femme fatale is so fun.
So incredible.
Yeah,
so
it looks
incredible.
So good. I love that Alex Song-xia is now going from like the tiniest, meekest character to the largest, meanest character imaginable in Kingskin. So good. Yeah, it's delightful. I can't wait. I believe there are, this may be the scoop for our show, I believe there are actual on-set explosions that are coming our way.
We have special effects, which we've seen via the dome being upgraded. Practical effects is
I believe like, I had my junior year production roundtable, and someone mentioned explosions in the sense of like actual explosions and not on the screen projection explosions. So it sure seems like we're going to get some pyrotechnics in the dome.
So let's just like list out some of the features that we're seeing. So practical effects, special effects, animations, that entire crew that brings the dome screens to life. Costume design via Brennan, especially that we see in the trailer. That moment, and I think I said this maybe last week, or I've said it somewhere on the internet already, that the moment in the trailer where they do the compilation of him going "Hello, gang," and it cuts through all the different like episodes or iterations of him. Mind-blowing to me. That was one of the first moments I've seen anything from not just Dimension 20, but from Dropout that screamed like, we're ready for you, Hollywood. And that's the piece that I really want like our listeners to key in on when they think about answering the question around like, well, could Dimension 20 ever play in the Emmys game? That is the kind of attention to detail and alignment to like a traditional media line to walk that draws the right eyes to a project like this. The length being 10 episodes, not 20, not 4, not 6. Like, that is when people think miniseries, they're thinking 8 to 10 episodes, so they're in the right ballpark. The length of the episodes probably still going to be like the insane, like over 2 hours length, I would imagine, but like that is something they can work with. It's just all coming together in this way that is so magical. It's so aligned to positioning Dropout as that destination for the mid-budget, like mid-size streamer option that people are going to, and that's very aligned with the publicity that they're doing right now, trying to position themselves as mid-market. It's just so correct. Correct is the word that I keep thinking of when I think about this season. Everything about it, it's delightful, it's surprising, but it's also just correct.
Yeah.
And that is so thrilling.
Yeah, I will say, like, there's a reason why Brennan lost bingo in Game Changer with 1 hour's notice, and there's a reason why you can edit together 10 episodes of Brennan saying the same thing and it syncs up perfectly. Brennan's very, very much on track. Like he's ready to go and predictable, and not a criticism. I do the same thing. But like, yeah, that like his like the movements all being identical at the beginning of every episode. Like the fact that he does that unintentionally and it worked out so beautifully is just, yeah, mind-blowing. And such, yeah, practical effects, special effects, costuming,
hair and makeup, costuming, all of it. It's
an approachable story. Like the idea that, like you mentioned, like the mechanics and the cast, but also just the concept of like, it's 80s, 90s action. Done, you're in. Like it's Jumanji 80s 90s action. I'm guessing because it's a magic VHS, and some people have theorized this as well, that there will be some level of like time shenanigans involved, that like it's going to rewind and fast forward, which probably will be true. And obviously Dropout loves to incorporate VHS effects onto things. They gotta get the money's worth for those sound buckets that they're buying.
100%.
Yeah, but like it's such an instantly approachable concept as well as approachable system, and obviously Ally Beardsley promising the most unhinged we've ever seen Brennan. It's everything about it screams hit.
100%. I completely agree, and I think even the way that you're saying it reminds me that it when we're thinking through and analyzing the campaign for Dropout to be not just on the card of the Emmys, but eventually an Emmys winning studio, right? The way that you describe things colloquially is so much a product of design on Dropout's end. So we don't just say these things because like we can say them, right? If Dropout couldn't conceptualize something that was this easy to communicate amongst friends in a podcast to all of you across people that are voting, like that matters so much to momentum, versus the way we talk about the Fantasy High series. There is no quick soundbite that does Fantasy High justice to external audiences that don't understand D&D, that weren't here for season 1, that don't have the history of like Dimension 20 behind them. We can do it with the folks that watch this podcast, probably because you're all watching Fantasy High, but like that external portion, that is why Dungeons and Drag Queens was so exciting, because even the name Dungeons and Drag Queens, which I understand like that wasn't a Dropout original idea, they borrowed it from a live show that had that same name, but it works for the audience they needed to hit for. Never Stop Blowing Up is another product that's like, yeah, I think I have a great sense of what's going to happen. They're going to be explosions, they're going to blow up. It just fits.
And it also, like, I mean, it's wildly enough is the only other name that leans into the mechanic of the game itself, of like your dice are going to blow up when you hit the certain number, and like that's probably not important for like voting folks, but like I think like helps like the game. I do think still people will call it D&D when they're doing the shorthand explanation, because no one's calling it TTRPGs. No one knows what that is yet. Like it's D&D. But action movie. Like I
actually really hope that by virtue of how journalists have to investigate and report on things like this show could be a vehicle for that correct language to become more public domain facing. So if like the varieties, the Hollywood Reporters, the trades decide to report on Never Stop Blowing Up, they're going to be forced to explain that this is not Dungeons and Dragons, but it's within the realm of TTRPG gaming or mechanics. Like I think that there is also that role that Dimension 20 gets to play in this conversation of like, we're going to show you how wide ranging this entire genre is. And that's also a great thing for the genre, to have a vehicle that's like willing to do that. So then if another like even smaller streamer, a smaller studio, a boutique like gaming group wants to try and play up, like Dimension 20 is kind of like pushing the door open a little bit more to say like, look how wide ranging we are. It's not just Dungeons and Dragons and all the things that come with that. We can have dice that literally blow up like as part of the mechanism of the game. And that's another way of thinking about this. I think that that's like very, very cool. And I think to the point you said, like, that does matter to people that are reporting on this, because that's a cool thing to get to tell people. Like, hey, the name of the show is also the way the show is played. Like that, I eat that up. As a reader, I'd be like, oh, that's really cool. So like I could roll dice forever. Like, yeah, maybe. maybe that's how they play. Like,
Yeah.
that's also exciting.
Yeah, and presumably, I have no idea, but like, let's assume Brennan has a button that, like, every time the dice explode, there's an explosion on the monitors. Like, that, I mean, like, really leaning into it. I should also point out, Critical Role has Candela Obscura and Blades in the Dark, also very much pushing that door open of like, hey, it's not just D&D anymore. Because I feel like if we don't say that, there are gonna be
Very
comments.
true. Very true. Let's remember this is a Dropout focused podcast, people. And honestly, Rowan, we need to invite you back to have a big old conversation around this genre moving forward within all of this. So this isn't me. I'm just gonna send this link to Rowan when we publish this episode, being like, hey. Ready to come back on and talk about this? We love having Rowan here. We love Rascal News. Go subscribe to them as well. They do awesome work reporting on this entire space. But keeping it Dropout specific, I want to talk about the cast with you before we move on, because, oh my God, this cast is unbelievable. We have Jacob finally entering the dome.
Finally in the dome. People are so excited. Also, huge shout out to everyone who was guessing on the sunglass reflection and got Jacob and Iffy. Like, well done, everyone. Like, really impressive work.
It's like
you got
Taylor Swift level sleuthing happening. It's fantastic.
Like, I mean, they were a pixel tall, and you're like, that's Jacob Wysocki. Someone literally in my Discord was like, those are Iffy Wadiwe's shoulders, and I was like, I knew Iffy was in it, so I was like, you're not wrong. So
it's so good. I love how excited the community is about this show. I really hope that people take their excitement and do it also on public facing platforms to help like share the excitement out and help bridge new people in, because all of this conversation, like, I saw it blowing up on Twitter, and like I saw cast members like liking tweets, and like everyone was all over the place. Jacob had a very lovely tweet when the cast finally came out saying like how excited he was to enter the dome and how honored he was to enter. And I'm like, it's also so cool to see like the reverence that Dropout cast members have to being a part of this specific property, because they know how beloved it is. And I just think it's very cool that there's a commitment to bringing new people in, balancing it with casts that we've seen time and time again, like Allie, like Izzy, like Reika. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And bringing Iffy in, I think, is such a strong choice for this genre. I think he's going to have so much room to play.
Playing a fast and furious guy looks so much fun.
It's awesome. It's so good. I think Alex coming back, like you already made this point, but the connection to the Mentopolis storytelling versus this. I'm also a Mentopolis fan. I just got to put that out there. If people forgot, like, that was my hook that made me go all the way down the rabbit hole of Dimension 20, was I loved that property so much. So I'm very excited to kind of see that energy come back a little bit. Reika, obviously, I think is going to shine in this. It seems so
pure chaos. Can't wait. It's going to be delightful.
And speaking of pure chaos, like, they're all chaos agents, but Izzy going by the name Jack Manhattan is obscene to me.
So good. Genuinely, so good. When I saw the name, I had to look up the names on Ratfish, the Game Changer episode, because I was like, is there a Jack Manhattan on Ratfish? And there's not, but it's real close.
Real close. It's great, though.
Jack Manhattan is fan. Everyone, like, it's such a star-studded lineup around the table, and such a perfect lineup for pure chaos, which this season feels like it's just going to lean so hard into, of like, hey, it's 80s, 90s action. It was the silliest time in the history of the world for movies, not obviously the real world. Of just
movies really did that. They really had a moment that we have not seen return.
Yes, I'm just like, hey, everything's wild, and like things blow up for no reason. There are one-liners, like it's bonkers. And Dimension 20 was like, yeah, we've got the cast for this. We know who's gonna do this, and they nailed it. I'm so excited to see Iffy back in the dome. Escape from the Bloodkeep is one of my favorite seasons. So as a Lord of the Rings girly, just like so much fun.
The Lord of the Rings girly pop, we stand. Escape the Bloodkeep.
I'm so excited to see his nonsense. Reika, truly, I mean, another Escape the Bloodkeep alum coming back for that. That, like, you know, Reika, God, it's so good in both that season and in Mice and Murder. I can't wait for just like that laser focused silliness of
Yes.
Reika, you know, the a bug with a big ass level silliness is. God, side note, someone made a meme where it was like literally everyone, including Reika, bug with a big ass. Is that Reika? So funny.
So good. So good. I'm actually, just a quick sidebar to Game Changer just for a moment as we wait one more week for the Game Changer finale. I'm actually, last week I was very upset that we had to wait. I also,
this week, it was yesterday.
I also am very, very happy as someone, I've said this time and time again, who thinks that like episodic viewing is a bit of a lost art and like needs to come back. The time and space the Game Changer finale has had to breathe and like garner a life of its own, and like the way that the Game Changer accounts have been able to play off of the amount of time people have to sit with it, I think has been really brilliant and really strong for like the show as an entity to like really like go cast a fishing line and like real, not just current viewers in, but all of us in. I think if they had done both parts like Monday and Tuesday or like back to back in like a shorter time frame, I think something would have been lost within that. So I'm not revising my thoughts from the last episode. However, I am saying that now that I've sat in the moment that we're in, I once again am back to my roots of episodic viewing week by week. Great thing.
Look, am I sad that I've interviewed both Katie and Jess in between episodes 1 and 2? Yeah, I am. But and am I gonna also get Reika before episode 2 airs? Yes, I am. So I will get no one that was on the show after the finale. But you know what? It's fantastic television. I can't be mad about it.
Let's use that to transition to how upset I was that I did not get the bonus content episode of Very Important People before I talked a bit, because the amount of questions I have seen the bonus content, wild. Oh, it's like Santa's list of all the children in the world. I've got so much follow up I'd like to do based on what they cut.
Yeah, so good.
Including Denzel.
Yes.
Tell me,
Denzel's
what
child.
is this Denzel piece that you alluded to off air, and now we're all going to discover in real time?
Yes, so we cannot share Denzel's child on YouTube. It absolutely would get us demonetized. Honestly, I'm going to read you the name of the child, and it might get us demonetized. Denzel holds up a jar that has very clearly a sex toy in it, and says, "This is my child," and which is also so funny to give Iffy a jar with a sex toy and for him not to make it sexual. Kudos, Iffy.
Very funny. Yeah.
But I saw a bunch of people were speculating what kind it was. And so they put the clip on Instagram today. Tamar, the director, shared it. I messaged her and asked her, is it a Bad Dragon sex toy? And she said, I don't know what that is. Here's what I searched on Amazon. I searched alien dildo. So it is a... That is the name of the product.
I said add to cart immediately.
Add to cart, and I will submit the receipt. Like, also, very clearly, they were like, we're going to capture everyone who is searching for this by putting every possible thing that this could be in the name of the item. I do have this open in incognito window, and I know Google still, like, follows you when you're in incognito, but like I'm hoping that it's not as much.
Now, who will be brave enough to send that to Jordon's P.O. box?
Please don't.
It's added to Jordon's wish list now.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's yes, to go back to your point, kudos to Effie for, you know, they planted for every person that appeared on that show such clear bait to their strengths, right? Or an opportunity to show a range we don't normally get. And I think it really shows a lot about a performer when they're given something that there's an obvious one way and they pivot a different way with it. Same with Josh and the puppet. I think that was another very clear example of something to play to Josh's strength, and he took it in such an interesting place. So.
Yeah, and same with Jasper and Casper of like, they're twins. Nope, we're a married couple. We're not related. Like, very funny and much funnier than like the original joke of they look the same.
100%. 100%. They were one of my favorite bits in this bonus episode that we got, seeing more of just like how wide ranging that story arc was, that they clearly had to narrow in on to ship an episode at all, versus like the Tommy Shrigley, which we both know from Vic's interviews with us that the Tommy Shrigley episode was so straightforward, they barely quote unquote had to cut from it to make it happen. So as much as I was like disappointed there was less Tommy Shrigley, I was like, no, we know that's because it was so good and straight on that they just gave it to us almost as it was.
Yeah, I was excited to see so much more Nana, because that was another one where there were basically no notes on set, but because they had recorded for like 45 minutes straight of just like them in character, there was enough then to expand, be like, here's extra, because we had to cut somewhere. But yeah, that one really, also, I mean, Allie's laugh is so infectious that just getting more of Allie like cackling with laughter, especially like Vic coming around the camera of like from the intro and Allie immediately just like losing it, was so good.
Here's my challenge to our viewers. Whenever editors watch the Dropout drop in, let's get some Allie laugh compilations going, because truly this is ProducerLiz asking for that 30 seconds of joy specifically. So if you would like to, someone just subscribed to the YouTube channel. This is what I wanted to plug 34 minutes ago when we started recording. If you're still watching, please subscribe, because it really helps both if you subscribe to this channel, subscribe to Jordon's channel, Jordon's Patreon. All of this really helps us deliver more Dropout content to all of y'all. And you hear every YouTuber, you hear everyone on the planet say that, but it is so literally true that every single person that subscribes, that likes, that follows on Patreon, all the things, like, it has a one-to-one impact on the work we're able to do. So thank you to everyone that has subscribed. And if you haven't and you're going to keep watching this episode, I don't blame you, because I find it annoying when people ask you to. But I meant to say that 30 minutes ago, so now I've said it.
Yeah.
Huzzah. I don't even know how I opened the episode.
You're 30 minutes in. Hit subscribe. You don't have to turn the bell on. Just hit subscribe.
I'll even put a little card somewhere on the screen so that you have all the places to go to. It's great. But yes, where were we before I got Allie's laughter. Please make a compilation and send it to producerlizcollabs@gmail.com. Thank you so much. What else did you love from the Very Important People bonus episode?
Oh boy, I mean, all of it's so good. It was so much fun to get to see everyone again. Just because, I mean, even though it's 10 episodes, I mean that was over 20 weeks because it's every other week. But like, yeah, it was so nice just to sort of like be reminded of like, oh yeah, each of these episodes there was a reason why I was reaching out to Vic after every single episode, because each one was so brilliant. And even when like Vic and I did our interviews and got really distracted by other nonsense and basically didn't talk about an episode, like it wasn't because the episode wasn't good. Like every episode was so much fun. And yeah, I mean, I think Izzy and Brennan also really like first of all, the Brennan note of like they put chemicals on me so that I don't sweat. That's not a bit. That's a real thing. It was truly so good. But just like like getting to see the two of them backstage, and then yeah, obviously bonus Ogbert, so delightful, and yeah, Leanna. Also, oh man, just like
unbelievable
that we got more makeup being put on, because I think we both commented that we wanted like a full hour of like Izzy applying makeup to Vic, and the fact that we did get just the worst lipstick I've ever seen.
What are you talking about? That was perfect. That's like how they teach you how to do it at whatever the Sephora equivalent is in Leanne's world. Clearly, it was great. So good. One round of applause to the Very Important People team for like, I don't know how they're going to raise the bar for season 2, but obviously they are, because that's how show development works. You don't do season 1 was good, copy and paste for season 2. You try and elevate it in some ways, but I'm really excited to see, like, they set the bar not so high they cannot raise it further, but they set it so high in terms of the way this kind of comedy can be done. And I really truly believe that in 2 years, 3 years from now, we're going to see more shows and sketches and creators emerge because of what Very Important People did. I think it's the kind of comedy and the kind of unique piece that's going to make a lot of people rethink and think bigger about what they can make and do. And I see all of this, and I just know that this is a little bit more than a really great show that Dropout nailed. It's also a little bit of like an invitation and a calling card for a new wave of weird improv comedy to emerge, which I think is very exciting. So excited to see what season 2 has in store. To the point you made, I think in a video, thank God we're getting more of it technically this year, because season 2 should emerge at the end of 2024.
So they told us we'll have more in 2024, presumably December release, just like we had last year. I think we had one or two episodes. I think we had one episode officially air before the new year. I had seen 2 because I pestered them into giving me an early video so that I could interview Vic. It was before I knew the Vic interviews were going to become a regular thing. But yeah, I'm really excited we'll get more of that. I'm excited that, I mean, obviously that they've captured such magic. I think we've talked about on the show that they're getting obviously a bigger budget, more episodes, but also a lot bigger build time for what they're going to be working on. So we're seeing, now they're in pre-production for longer. So they're going to have, like, Alex and the makeup team are going to have longer to build custom prosthetics for people. There's a lot more that they're going to be able to do for season 2, just because it was so successful and because people loved it so much. Speaking of so successful and things that love so much, this is completely going to transition us away from very important people. Did we talk about Squirm yet? I don't think we did, because that was last week.
No! Let's try and have a conversation, please.
Because I was like, look, not since Tommy Shrigley have I seen the Dropout fandom so like uniformly focused on one thing, and it was his presentation from Smarty Pants. So much so that when they started releasing clips of the other presentations, I had forgotten that there were other presentations. Like, that I fully enjoyed in the moment, and they were gone the moment Paul started. Yeah, Squirm, what a nightmare.
What a nightmare. What a nightmare.
Saying, don't you understand, it would feel good. So good. The moment where he was like, I need you to know, or like, whatever, like, that I'm gay, and then the uproarious applause immediately followed. All of it incredible. It was. Yes.
It was. And then he followed with an incredible Instagram story series where if you missed it, it was like a question box. Anyone could input like the stats that you want to see in this like body
tracker. Yeah.
And I was like some of the responses were wild. Did you put any in?
I did, but it was a bit after, like, because someone had put in like the how many sunglasses I've lost, and he was like, that it doesn't count that because it's only things that happen to your body. So I put in how many times have I been sad about sunglasses being lost?
That's
so just
great.
Fully a bit about the thing that. So I don't think it made it onto the cut, but I entertained myself.
I love that. No, I think that's great. As someone that loses their sunglasses.
Yeah.
25-8. Yes, agreed. I would recommend strands of hair lost in the shower.
Oh, that's a good one.
I would be horrified to know, as someone with this much hair on their head, how much hair just decides that's enough. Drops out. Horrifying thoughts, honestly. One thing you can count on from Dropout is dreams and nightmares. So that'll do them well in an Emmys campaign, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Boy.
Jordon, why don't you plug some of the stuff you have coming up over the coming weeks so that if Liz enters production land and there's nothing happening here, y'all know what's going on Jordon's other pages.
Yeah, so we talked briefly about beforehand the Bitcherton podcast, which is coming to Kickstarter. It's got a bunch of people that you love from Dropout. I'm attempting to get interviews with all of them. I've talked to Katie Maravich already about it. It's super fun. That interview's up on YouTube. Because it is a Kickstarter, those interviews are all going up way faster to my YouTube than they normally do. Normally interviews sit on my Patreon for 2 months. So now they're on my Patreon for 2 days. And then they go to the YouTube. So come hang out on my YouTube. And in theory, you'll get Carolyn Page, Iffy Wadiway, Cassie Wilson, who is miraculously not been on Dropout. She's so talented. She's got to be there soon. And Alex Song-xia. That's everyone. Yeah, because I've already done Brian Flaherty and Katie Maravich. So
exciting.
It looks super fun. I've listened to the first episode. It's very silly and very fun. And yeah, it's very up Dropout wheelhouse of fans, I should say. June 17th, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Grant and Allie are going to be on YouTube at the Disruptors movie channel, and they're going to watch The Disruptors, their movie that they made together. Katie and a bunch of other Dropout folks are in.
Yeah.
And they're going to do like a live watch along. I assume that you will be watching them on YouTube, and you will have to like have your own movie separately, but it should be fun. So June 17th at a time that I said, so rewind 30 seconds because I've already forgotten.
Lots going on to keep everyone entertained. If you don't hear from this one specifically, I'll probably be shitposting on Instagram as I'm in my hard hat. And I did acquire a hot pink steel-toed shoes for the people that were following on that chain. That was very important to me for a couple months trying to track down. If I'm going to be construction grade, I'm going to be on brand, and we've successfully done it. So
amazing.
Shitposting about production life for a little bit until we get through that. July will be back with a lot more interviews, a lot more Dropout content, Never Stop Blowing Up content. We would love to hear what you're excited about with Never Stop Blowing Up to help us plan what our commentary is going to look like for the season. So let us know in the comments what you're looking forward to. And we'll be back to start unpacking Never Stop Blowing Up, Dropout Presents, Make Some Noise, season whatever, 3000, season 3000 of Make Some Noise, if you're like me and you watch it all the time. And all the interviews to come. See you next time.
See you in the stars.